Welcome back to the Dizzy Skeleton. I'm DK, and today we're going to be finishing our look at Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. I already looked at chapters 1 and 2, which provided character options, magic items, feats, and gifts. This time I'm going to be looking at the role-playing part of it, the Dungeon Masters section, the Draconomicon, that's in the back of the book here. Taking a look at the bestiary at the end, and really just polishing off this book. Now, I already said I really like this book, and I do. I love this book. It's probably one of my favorite books to come out for 5th edition, and possibly out of all of the books I've really read and digged into. They just provide so much lore and useful information. It's not necessarily just lore about the dragons, but it's how can you apply the lore and the dragon's personality to each of your adventures or quests, or making a dragon-centric campaign, something like the Tyranny of Dragons. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the last couple of chapters here, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. Alright, so here we are, chapter 3, Dragons in Play. They go really deep into role-playing dragons, really customizing your dragon. So dragon appearance here, mannerisms, bonds, flaws, and secrets. They really go into depth, giving you a lot of tables to either roll on to give you randomly, or just ideas. I like tables because it just gives me ideas, and I can take something off of the table and then kind of turn it into something else, just to give a little nugget of an idea. They give the names of dragons, so naming your dragon. You can give it one of those really complicated 6, 7, 8 syllable dragon names that are really hard to pronounce, or maybe you just give it a nickname of a sort. They have those as well. So customizing dragons, they go into the languages, skills, kind of everything about the dragon. I really like adding spells and change shape. The polymorph feature, allowing them to turn into humans. It's something that I think a lot of old editions have had, but I haven't really seen a lot of it in this edition, especially having spells attached to your dragon. They go deep into detail on some things like gods and religion. They explain how Bahamut and Tiamat aren't necessarily gods to other dragons, but are more kings, queens, where they're more served instead of worshipped, maybe. They go into shape-shifting organizations that a dragon might have, including the Cult of the Dragon. The first adventure 5th edition had was the Tyranny of Dragons line, where it involved the Cult of the Dragon, and they go into detail about it here, so I won't reveal too much on that, but just kind of how to add additional information to that. One of the things that they added here that I haven't really seen before is a order of dragons, or a group of dragons that have kind of come together to have a goal together. The inheritors of the first world. They go in deep into the description of it, talking about awakening dragon sight. There's a lot of gem dragons, in kind of Sardi, or the ruby dragon, being their savior, their sovereign dragon, that they're waiting for it to be resurrected. And when it does, hopefully they can bring back Tiamat and Bahamut to create what would be the first world, to re-inherit that, if you will. Here they start dragon relationships. I really like these. It goes through, what if your dragon was a business owner, or an emperor, a crime boss, a god to maybe kobolds, a parental figure, a warlord, all different kinds of things, a teacher. And then they have relationships and adventures, so how some of those relationships may create an adventure or become a patron to a group of adventurers. All that aside, they go into describing how to actually add the dragon into your adventure, building campaigns around them, the encounter, creating adventures itself, and how to kind of surround the adventure around a dragon in different positions. So the schemer, power, the monster previously. They also go into do more descriptions on dragon type campaigns and how to really set up a campaign events that really surround dragons or having dragons involved to really give you a dragon-centric campaign. Chapter 4 is Layers and Hordes. So they really go through and describe what it means for a layer to be a dragon's lair, what the horde means to a dragon, and then the trifecta that is the dragon, the lair, and the horde, all meeting certain specifications, usually just the age and length of time, everything put together, the size of the horde, the size and location of the lair, allowing a dragon to really gain its power and really take off and become something of an ancient dragon and then a great worm eventually. So here they've added regional effects, different kinds of effects that you can add to the regional layer of a dragon instead of just the ones that are described in the monster manual. They've also added extra layer actions depending on if your dragon is more powerful or if you just want to switch some things up. I really like some of these. Catch my breath, so you just get to roll the d6 and try to recharge the breath weapon. That would be pretty nice considering you only get one roll per turn. If it fails, you might not be able to AoE, and if you're playing a dragon versus a team, a group of adventurers, the dragon can be seriously outnumbered if it has to come in for flyby bites or claw attacks. So I won't spend too much time here. If you want to know more about the dragon hordes, I really suggest getting this book. I believe it's worth it if you want to know about dragons, if you're customizing dragons for your campaign, or if you're just really in it for the lore. This is going to be a book for you. It's going to go through the dragon hordes, the ages of the dragons here. It's really in adulthood that a dragon really begins to take off and amass large hordes, begin to create different layers where it amasses those hordes, so you link the hordes together, and it really goes in really deep into description about these hordes. You can have horde quirks, regional effects from your horde, a dragon's curse on the horde. They really go into deep detail on these. Here, so they have tables where you can create a horde based on the age of the dragon. Then you take that said thing, so the mundane item, and you bring it over here, and you roll on this table. So they really give you a lot to go off of here. Horde magic items, so they even have the tables. So you roll, come over to a magic item, and then locate it in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and then you can add it to the horde. So you can really get some pretty massive hordes. So even an adult dragon, just taking a look here at the gold piece range, I mean, we're talking 28,000 on average. That's pretty high. All right, so chapter 5, the Draconomicon. The Draconomicon is really the meat of this book. It's really going to have what you're looking for as a dungeon master if you're looking to add any of these dragons here. So it has all the gem dragons, metallic and chromatic, as well as the dragon turtle, and the fairy dragon up here, the shadow dragon as well. So I'm just going to go through one of those dragons. One of the dragons I'd like to add to my campaign, the one I'm running currently or one in the future, is going to be the Emerald Dragon. So I'll just flip to the Emerald Dragons page. So each of the dragons has about 3 to 4 pages where it just lists these different things here. So creating an Emerald Dragon. So I got a set of dice here. I'm just going to roll on some of these tables, and we'll just see what we get here real quick. So although Emerald Dragons are wise beyond telling, they usually answer questions with some vague jibber jabber, like the answer lies within you. Frustrating. All right, Fizban. All right, so let's get a personality trait for our Emerald Dragon. It's a D8. So that's a 5. So I like to adopt the personas of characters from legend. So this dragon maybe even shape changes into these different creatures or these different characters. Maybe walks around as them, tries to hide as them possibly. Emerald dragons are known for being a little bit paranoid. Let's see what his ideal is here. So observation, people lie, histories lie, even dragons lie, but actions always ring true. So this one actually kind of falls back to the last one we have. So maybe he only, or she, they only observe legends that are in history, personas of characters of legend. So maybe they find out who exactly is true and then become them, or maybe they become liars, the people who claim to be of legend. Let's see an adventure hook here. So rolling a d8 again. An emerald dragon invisibly tails a party of adventurers, causing trouble for the heroes so the dragon can watch how they respond. And that falls back onto the last things we had, so observation, trying to make sure that this group of adventurers is not lying or deceiving history, possibly trying to create some legends. So maybe in my current campaign, he's following around the group, trying to see if they're going to do what they said they were going to do, which was stop Tiamat. And he's going to see how they go about that by observing them. And maybe he comes around them and adopts personas around them just to observe and see what they are doing. If I create this dragon, it's going to be an adult, so we'll go on the adult here. And this is going to be some connection or some connected creature to it. So an adult emerald dragon is fascinated by the intrigues of a Rakshasa disguised as a human merchant prince. It's scary because I have this Rakshasa that is disguised as a human, not necessarily a merchant, but he is disguised as a human in my campaign, kind of near and around some of my adventures. So all of those kind of fit together. I can take that information then and go and create this dragon based on those personality traits, ideals, and whatnot. You could also just look through them and choose what you'd really like. I love that they give the adventure hooks, so 8 adventure hooks per dragon is enough to kind of give you a good idea, as well as the ideals here. You can really kind of figure out exactly how the dragon's going to act and how it's different from all the other dragons in here. So they have one of these box texts here, one for each dragon, at least that I've noticed, where it describes an ancient version or a popular dragon of the kind that it's referencing. So in this case, Raluthin is an ancient emerald dragon who dwells in an extinct volcano known as the Pit of Stars on the northernmost isle of Ruthim, off the Sword Coast of Faerun. Wink wink to my players if you're watching the video. But then just give some description of him, and it kind of does that for each of the kinds of dragons. Also for each of the dragons, it gives a sample layer. So I really like this. I might just steal this one straight up and use this. It gives information about the features of the layer. They kind of really went all out when they did these layers. I mean, there's one for each dragon, so they really had to go in and figure out the different kinds of dragons and what kind of layers they would be set up in. And then for this, they have the Emerald Dragon's treasure, so some kind of specific treasure that an Emerald Dragon would be drawn to. Alright, so I'm just going to show a secondary one fairly quickly. I'm not going to roll on the tables here, but fairy dragons. Say what you will about fairy dragons, but they know their pastries. Eclairs, macaroons, cupcakes. Now I've gone and made myself hungry. Who writes that? Who says that on a note? Anyway, so here's the fairy dragon. Just going through, it has some of the similar things, the personality traits, the ideals, adventure hooks, connections. But I just wanted to show that they do have, regional effects. They really go into a lot of detail on each of the dragons, and are able to give you and let you create one fairly quickly. Here's that box text again with a famous fairy dragon. Alright, so chapter 6 is the last chapter in the book. It's the bestiary. It does have all of the gem dragons at all their various age stages. I'm just going to go through and show a couple of things that I thought were cool. So here, the aspect of Bahamut. They have both the aspect of Bahamut and the aspect of Tiamat. I really, really love this. It's fantastic that they redid these. They've had the Tiamat stat block before, but this one is much better. They've taken the mythic status, the mythic creature part of Theros, and they've added to these aspects. So they have the mythic actions, the chromatic wrath turns it into the mythic version of Tiamat. So I thought it was very cool. The Draco Hydra. It's something that Tiamat created. It says here basically showing off her power and combining the chromatic dragon's power with that of the Hydra. You can see here in the picture it has multiple white heads, multiple green heads, so it can take on multiple heads of the same color. You know, cut one head off and two more take its place. One other thing that's getting a lot of looks, a lot of attention is the Elder Brain Dragon. It has its own miniature coming out even. Just taking a look at it here, the Elder Brain is when a Mind Flayer in a colony decides that it wants to move on, or the Elder Brain in its colony decides that it needs to expand, it will send a Mind Flayer to another location where it will sit in a vat of basically elithid tadpoles. There's a whole process in which a Mind Flayer becomes an Elder Brain. The Elder Brain Dragon is when that Elder Brain lashes itself onto the back, as you can see here in the picture, of a dragon, inserting its tentacles into its brain and kind of controlling this dragon, becoming an Elder Brain Dragon. So it's a combination of both of those creatures, and I just love it. It's fantastic. If you were running an all Mind Flayer campaign, now you have something else to add to it, a dragon that is taken over by that colony. All right, the last thing I wanted to just point out here was the Horde Mimic. It is, as it sounds, a mimic that has taken on the appearance of a horde. It's quite powerful with a challenge rating 8, and it has some different abilities here that just make it a little bit different than a regular mimic. It's like nothing really I've ever seen before. Even though it says it's a horde mimic, it is kind of its own thing, closer to a horde golem. But I thought it was something interesting to point out here. The other thing here, just right across from that, is the Horde Scarab, or swarm of Horde Scarabs. I really like this creature. It gives me the mummy vibes just by its appearance here. Alright, and that's really it. This is the final page here of the book, the creature list. So it's just giving the challenge ratings of all of the creatures, and then the creatures by creature type. As you can see, they have a really nice spread all the way across the challenge ratings. I mean, they obviously have a lot in the low tier, but that's kind of how D&D works. But they have a nice amount that are, 15 CR and up, and even past 20. These are the ones that are really hard to find. You don't see a lot. So the fact that they have about 10 of them is quite impressive. That's going to finish my look at Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. If I was to critique it, I would say it's a very good book. It's very useful if you're looking to add dragons. If you're not into dragons, or you're running campaigns surrounded around other things, vampires, low magic settings maybe, this is not going to do you well. So keep that in mind. Most people I know have at least one dragon in their campaign, if not multiple. It is Dungeons and Dragons, so I'm surprised it took them this long to get a dragon-centric book out, but I'm glad that it's out now. I'll use plenty of this book in my current campaign. I'm running a variation of the Tyranny of Dragons campaign line. In that I will be using this quite a bit. If you're looking to pick up Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, you can find it online for a pretty decent price, for the standard cover that is. If you're looking for this alternate cover, you're going to have to get that from your brick and mortar as usual. Order it comes in at $49.95 through most brick and mortar stores. You may be able to find the alternate cover online at a significantly higher price. I've seen it going for $60, $70, even higher than that I've seen. All right, that's going to finish my look at Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. All right, and thanks for watching today. If you could go ahead and like and subscribe down below. If you want to watch my last book review, you can look at it here. My last miniature review right over here.